Hello everyone, this is Sho and welcome to SwitchStrats. Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'll be taking a look at Fort Triumph from AllIn Games and CookieByte with a TAC review. What's a TAC review? Well, as a strategy game enthusiast, whenever I see new games pop up on the eShop, I always wonder what challenge it may provide. So compared to usual game reviews that emphasize mostly on graphics and performance, TAC reviews are aimed to break down the gameplay and to see what challenges it offers to veterans and newbies alike to the genre. I'll also be looking at 3 points: the tactics involved, so gameplay elements and how they work. Then I'll discuss the AI and how it approaches battling the player. Finally, ending on the great, big, beautiful part of strategy games, the cheese, or what elements there may be that could break the game. Because we all know there's always that one unit that just takes over everything. Anyway, I'll also be making brief comments on the performance issues as well as story, audio, and graphics. However, unless otherwise causing a dramatic impact, I'll likely not go too far into it. So with that said, time to see if this port was done triumphantly, or did this fort fall? Let's take a look. Originally released in Steam in 2020, Fort Triumph is marketed as a tactical strategy game offering deep combat mechanics and tactical planning. The game has received generally positive reviews on Steam, and many game reviewers for Switch have also seemed to give it generally favorable comments, which is always good. Getting into the story, without going into it too much, you'll start the campaign with the human side, and the game opens with a sarcastic and silly storyline with a group of adventurers coming together to make some dough. Overall, I didn't feel too engaged with the story, but it does have some good humor and fun. For the graphics, they have a really, Warcraft 3 sort of feel that I can really appreciate as a fan of old school RTSs. But personally, I don't feel it's too amazing. Fairly typical and straightforward for an indie title such as this, but in all, it's okay. The sound and the soundtrack definitely fits the vibe of the genre with a good amount of atmosphere-inducing music, fit for battle in the fantasy setting. It definitely helps you get into the mood for battle, which is always great. Now, for performance and bugs, a few cases of the AI bugging out or the game having trouble executing loading and assets during some events. In one extreme case, the AI bugged out when planning its strategy, which is something I will be covering during my AI breakdown. Also, during critical shots, which occur when the camera moves behind the shoulder of your unit during an attack, there were some instances of lag. However, I personally didn't find this to be too much of an issue overall. Now let's talk about the tactics. The game offers an interesting combination of 3 core mechanics: a board game, a city builder, and of course the turn-based tactics gameplay. When looking at the board game, the game takes place on a game board of sorts, where the player moves a set of pieces every turn. At the start of each turn, the player is able to move their pieces around the board, interacting with various elements. These elements can include battles, events, or items depending on the location. These allow the player to teach their units new abilities or to get new items and resources to power up their units. In a typical board game fashion, the player also starts with a single piece and moves around with a limited number of steps. The AI also has its own pieces that it generates and moves around per turn. The overall goal here is to complete story missions, with the final one and the main way to win a skirmish being an attack on the enemy's stronghold. To note, the AI will also be doing this as well, so if one of their pieces makes it to your stronghold, you'll be forced into a battle to defend. For this reason, it's important to consider the piece positions and the number of steps available to you per turn. The number of steps can be upgraded by purchasing upgrades in the city builder aspect, or perhaps by interacting with specific elements on the game board, though during my own playthrough I didn't see any outside of the city builder upgrade. While not a full city builder in essence of the Tycoon or 2 Point series, the city builder gameplay works a lot like many mobile games. The player starts with a main structure, and plots are present for buildings. Each turn, resources are gained through the structures you build, as well as by capturing resource points on the game board. You have no idea how long that took me to say. Buildings are constructed to take one turn to finish and provide additional bonuses to resource gathering and extra perks for your units. For example, building the Grudge Camp allows your melee units to counterattack once a turn. When upgraded, it removes the once a turn limit. To note, there are 3 resources: Beats, Magic, and Renown. Beats and Magic can be generated per turn based on what resource points you have under your control. These allow you to buy new units and to create more board pieces, as well as new buildings. Renown, which is the main resource for unit upgrades, is only collected from minor events and battles. These upgrades provide general buffs for all units of any level, so these are an ideal investment early on to ensure your new units start with an advantage. When engaged in battle, a grid-based field is randomly generated based on the terrain and required enemy placement. Unit positions seem to be randomized for battles, including story ones. From personal tests, it seems that all fields and unit positions are randomly generated and created when an instance is made. I personally experienced this when restarting a level after experiencing one of the aforementioned bugs. So if you have an issue with a bug during a mission and a restart needs to be done, then you'll have to navigate a new battlefield, which for some may be a bit frustrating. The battles themselves, though, are fairly straightforward, with units occupying a square and having action points to move, use items or abilities, and so forth. With that said, the main aspect must be taken into consideration are the physics abilities. Physics abilities are skills or effects that allow for you and the enemy to push and pull units around the map. This allows you to hit units into each other as well as the environment. When doing so, you can do additional damage or inflict stun effects that prevent the use of skills and attacks on the subsequent turn. This also extends to some of the objects in the environment, such as stones, trees, lanterns, and so on. By using your physics abilities on these environmental elements, you can break them and cause them to fall on enemies. The key then is to focus on using your skills to induce stun and to maximize damage on the opponent's units, as well as mitigating the amount of damage you receive. In all, the physics abilities are the core aspect of gameplay in this mode, and I found myself really considering how to maximize my strategy to inflict the most damage by using my environment. Additionally, as units level up, they are given the chance to learn new abilities or to upgrade existing skills. For the most part, it seems that the skills one can learn are randomly generated each level and can be classified by rarity, and if it can also be carried over based on the unit's class. Items can also be equipped before a battle that grant stat adjustments or extra abilities to your units, allowing you to really craft a unique build for your party. You'll be interacting with the AI in 2 instances. One, the game board by seeing them move their pieces around, and the other on the actual tactical battles. On the game board, the AI behavior is, at least on normal difficulty, set to prioritize element interactions with an emphasis on taking over your resource production. This is then followed by assaulting your main base. I didn't have any instances of the AI player engaging my characters directly. The only exception was the attack on my stronghold. In the tactical battles, the AI is quite unique depending on the type of AI you're engaging. When dealing with the static NPC battles on the map, the AI is fairly easy to predict and was ultimately unable to do much against me as I kept using physics abilities. But on turns that the AI could act, it seemed that regular attacks and very occasional special moves were used, but then again, this was on normal difficulty, so on harder modes the AI may prove more challenging. With the actual AI player, this is when things got more interesting. Something I missed before, but a main mechanic of the field battles when engaging the AI player is for them to start with all reaction abilities such as Overwatch activated. For this reason, it may seem like a good idea to do the same to force the AI to move. After trying this myself, the AI player immediately nailed me with a few physics abilities and it made my second turn a lot more challenging to navigate. This, for me at least, was really engaging, and I found myself wanting more and more of the AI player battles. However, one important thing to note is how long the AI takes for its turn. I'm still not 100% sure if this was a bug or just an extremely calculating AI, but there were some cases where I needed to wait upwards of 40 seconds to a minute for the AI to move its first unit on the battlefield. While I do enjoy thinking about my next step, I did worry often when the AI took too long not because of, wondering what they're going to do. Rather, I was scared that the game ended up in some calculating loop, which would result in me having to restart the level over again, invalidating my time and effort. Unfortunately, this had happened to me at least 2 or 3 times during some of my battles. With that said, all in all, the AI does offer a good challenge and tends to be a bit smarter than the average AI used for some of these games. Now for the fun stuff. How's the cheese with this game? As many fans of the genre know, sometimes there are certain units or abilities that just completely break the game, allowing you to steamroll the battles, in trivializing the game's challenge. So how does Fort Triumph fare? Well, while not a complete cheese, the physics abilities are some of the best to get and upgrade early. In particular, the Ranger's hookshot skill. Once upgraded a single time, it removes the accuracy loss it gets from targeting units in cover. This allows the Ranger to hit covered units and then break their cover while dealing damage, inactivating any of their reaction skills and then stunning them. Definitely a good choice if you want to slap the AI's units around senselessly. Additionally, the Mage's Tornado Spout is perfect for long-range physics breaking. Also, building and upgrading the aforementioned Grudge Camp allows for your melee units to counterattack without limit. This has helped a lot when the AI used a lot of weaker units in an attempt to swarm me, so definitely something to look at. I would say Fort Triumph is definitely a fun game for fans of turn-based tactics games, as it offers an interesting take with its physics abilities combined with a city builder and board game. For veterans of the genre, I imagine this would be an easy to pick up and something to play around in. However, unless on a harder difficulty, perhaps may not offer the challenge you might be looking for. Additionally, the city builder aspect could be fleshed out more, adding some extra challenge or creativity to it. For newcomers to the genre, you may feel a bit intimidated at first, as you'll need to navigate 3 distinct mechanics with a tutorial that only really helps understand the battle system. However, once you have an idea on the basic mechanics, you'll likely find this a charming little game that can get your juices flowing. So, have you gotten the chance to try out Fort Triumph yet? How has your experience been with these 3 mini genres together? Let me know in the comments below. I'll definitely be checking and responding to them personally. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'm still new to the platform and I have a lot more reviews I'm working on for upcoming and older Switch titles, so please look forward to that. Also, I always enjoy suggestions for games as well, so please feel free to let me know if there's a Switch strategy game you'd like to hear about. Take care, and if you find yourself stuck, just remember to switch strats. Cheers!